Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Raw Take. I'm your host, Rob Reed. This is your review for the Fyter Fest Night 2 edition of AEW Dynamite. This was, I don't know if it's as on par with Night 1 last week's, but this one had just about as much news coming out, and some major news in that a lot of rumors, some reports not yet confirmed, but very reliable reports that both CM Punk is in talks with AEW for a possible in-ring return, and former Daniel Bryan, American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, has apparently actually penned to paper, signed with AEW. It has not yet actually been confirmed yet, but Fightful has reported that another report by bodyslam.net, who lately has had some really good scoops involving AEW as of late, reported that it is a done deal that Bryan Danielson has signed with AEW. So with a lot of that already in the air, tonight had a lot of lead up, and with one really bad Raw from WWE and a okay NXT. Tonight, I think everybody needed what AEW brought to the table tonight. AEW is usually have been putting on almost week to week anymore. Just really good to great showings every week. And this is no different. So let's get into it. Show starts out with the first labor of Jericho. This is Chris Jericho. Jericho made his entrance, and one of the best things I've seen right from the beginning is as the fans start singing his theme, a big old just close-up shot of Pulse singing along with this theme, and I love that. I'm a big fan of Pulse, and I love seeing him in the crowd just singing his head off along with Judas. I loved it. But Jericho comes out. He is facing Shawn Spears, and the stipulation in this match is that Shawn Spears is allowed to use a chair, but Jericho cannot. This was an okay match. I like both Jericho. He's getting a bit up in age. He is 50. He is 50 now, so he's not the young Chris Jericho he used to be, but he can still put on decent, good matches. And Shawn Spears has always been a good wrestler. Has never really blown me away, but he's a decent wrestler. Had some decent spots. I do think that near the end, Shawn Spears both hitting Jericho with a chair and hitting his finisher to get kicked out, and then just losing to a straight up just one back elbow, the Judas effect, and now that's your finish. I thought that was a little, I don't know, just weak, but not a bad match. But right after this is one of the biggest shocks I've ever seen in any major wrestling company ever. Uh, After this, MJF had been on commentary throughout the match. He was probably the highlight of the whole match, was him on commentary. But right after this match is over, MJF gets on the microphone and says, no. Cut the mic. Cut his music. You seem to like to not play by the rules. Well, next week I found a guy who doesn't play by the rules. He is known to have stabbed a guy in the neck, and he's known to have committed bank robbery without wearing a mask, and immediately I knew who he was talking about. And sure enough, Nick fucking Gage comes out. Someone I never thought I'd ever see on national television, a nationally televised wrestling show. Ever. But sure enough, Nick Gage is going to face Chris Jericho next week at Fight for the Fallen edition of Dynamite. And this weekend, Nick Gage is facing Matt Cardona, the former Zack Ryder. Like, probably two of the biggest matches of his entire career he's having within a span of 5 days, 4 or 5 days. That is gigantic news. Like, some of the biggest news I've ever heard. Outside, I mean, no, he's not like a mainstream known name, but as soon as he came out, he got a giant reaction. Like, major reaction. Now, I'm hoping next week they don't try to treat him as a heel, because he is not a heel. Nick Gage is the violent, hardcore wrestler, but he is anything but a heel. So I feel like it's going to be Nick Gage is basically going to say, I respect you, but I have to beat the shit out of you. And then at some point, MJF is finally going to piss off Nick Gage enough where Nick Gage beats the shit out of MJF and everybody gets a happy moment. But you know Jericho has to win the match next week. He has to. It's the second labor. He's got to go through all 5 labors so he can get to his match with MJF, which I'm guessing will be at All Out. But you know that's happening. But there's no way Nick Gage plays a heel. It's not going to happen. The end of that segment is going to be Nick Gage and Chris Jericho with their arms raised in the air. That's going to happen, for sure. So we move on. Sorry, getting my little recap to remind me of everything that happened. So next we have next we have a match between Frankie Kazarian and Doc Gallows. It's a pretty short match. Not really much happened. It didn't last very long. It was just kind of ended up being a schmoz. Carl Anderson came in. Anderson came in distracted, and that allowed Gallows to hit a sit-out choke bomb to pin Kazarian. This brings out Don Callis and Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega kind of has a little flub. He starts saying that, you keep calling yourself the elite hunter, and he kind of flubs his line. And then, funny enough, he has to treats it like he has to talk to Callis, and he goes, "You call yourself the elite hunter, but now you're the elite hunted." And they start to attack. They start to gang up on Kazarian. This brings out Hangman Page to another big pop. Hangman comes out, and Callis is like, "You're coming out and you've got 5 guys around you. You're either drunk or you're stupid." And it's not mic'd up, but you can visually see Hangman say kind of both, and then he tries to get after Omega, but Omega gets out of the ring, and Gallows and Anderson start ganging up on Hangman. This brings out the Dark Order, including John Silver, who I'm so happy to see back. It looks like that's your 5-man team for next week. It does look like that it will be next week. The 5-on-5 elimination match will be next week on Dynamite. Dark Order and the Elite. It looks like the Dark Order the Dark Order team will be Hangman, Stu Grayson, Evil Uno, Alex Reynolds, and John Silver. I think that's the absolute perfect team for that match next week. I'm so glad to see John Silver back from injury. And I don't know if they're going to straight up get the win next week, or if they're going to try to find a way to stretch it out a few more weeks before All Out. So before the obvious eventual Hangman versus Kenny Omega title match, which is going to be the coronation of Hangman Page as the world champion. Just because it's something we know is going to happen doesn't mean it's something bad. That's something people is going to be one of the best endings to a storyline that has been built for 2.5 years. Not many wrestling companies can do that kind of long-term storytelling. It's been a long time since we've seen that kind of storytelling. I've loved this entire build from the beginning to now. Can't wait to see Hangman win. That's going to be at All Out, and that is looking to be one of the biggest pay-per-views of a long, and I can't even remember when. If the rumors are true that CM Punk's coming, he is showing up at All Out in Chicago. That's got to be his debut, and it is speculated that Bryan Danielson will be debut at the Arthur Ashe Stadium show in New York. Those are going to be two of the biggest shows and two of the biggest reactions the AEW will ever have. And I don't like to be that guy that says that's going to be the turning point, but to me it really does feel like Scott Hall and Kevin Nash going to WCW. That level of a shift. I'm not saying that it's going to immediately go to AEW beating Raw, or AEW immediately, or ratings immediately jumping up to 4.5. But I do think that that's going to be a major shift for AEW and wrestling as a whole. I think I would like to see this be the thing that kicks WWE in the butt and makes them finally say, maybe we should, have some cohesive storytelling, put on some fresh matches, get people interested. That might work. That might be a good idea. I'd like to say that. I don't have a lot of faith in WWE right now. But it would be good to see that. So let's move on. Let's move on to further review. So we do get a backstage, not backstage, but a vignette for Miro. I've loved Miro's ever since he's gone from being the best man to now to the God's favorite champion. He is one of my favorite things on AEW. I love his character. He's funny. He's like terrifyingly menacing. He goes from being funny to being one of the scariest dudes I've ever seen within like seconds of each other. I'm hoping that reign goes until the Arthur Ashe show, and I think that Eddie Kingston should be the guy to beat Miro for the TNT title. I think Eddie Kingston winning the TNT title and Proud and Powerful winning the tag team titles in New York would be the best thing. Would be an awesome moment. So next we get a match between Darby Allin and Wheeler Yuta. This is a short match, fun match, but the most fun part didn't even have anything to do with Wheeler Yuta or Darby Allin for once. But Wheeler Yuta had come out with Orange Cassidy. Darby Allin obviously comes out with Sting. Well, during the match, there's they're both Wheeler Yuta and Darby are both down on the mat, and there's a stare off between Orange Cassidy and Sting, and Sting starts with the Orange Cassidy kicks. And they do this back and forth kick, the lazy kicks, and they both go back like the super kick, and then they both kick at the same time. And then Sting just kind of lazily does his, Sting beat his chest, but he does it lazily like Orange Cassidy does. And then you see Darby come over, and he looks like he's embarrassed by his dad. He's getting embarrassed by his dad at school or something. And it's so fun to see Sting, like one of the biggest stars in wrestling history, like actually playing along with the Orange Cassidy character. He's in a level where if he said I don't want to do that, he wouldn't have to do it. But it's awesome to see like these legends like really working with these new stars and getting them over, putting over their stuff. It's such a fresh thing. I liken this, and we'll get to that in something here in a little bit. One of the cool things that happen on this show. We'll go ahead and talk about that now. Well, Darby Allin won, shocker, and after that, the Blade attacked Orange Cassidy to set up their match later in the night. But I believe it was after this too. Oh, there's a point. Tony Schiavone brings out Andrade, El Idolo. He comes out and he says, I told everybody I have a surprise. And he brings out Chavo Guerrero as his new manager, which I think is the absolute perfect person to put with Andrade. I didn't really think Vicky fit with Andrade at all. Like, not one bit. Her character just did not mesh at all with Andrade. Like, at all. But I think Chavo does. And a great thing is, he didn't get Eddie cheers. He got Chavo cheers. People were cheering Chavo Guerrero. You know, a lot of his career, he's been known as Eddie's nephew. And it's nice to see him get his own reaction. And I thought that was really cool. And, you know, he starts talking and he says, you know, I've come to AEW. He said, I see all these great wrestlers. He said, but, you know, with all due respect, I don't think any of those guys hold a candle to Andrade. This brings out Death Triangle, who Andrade called out last week. And Andrade asks Penta and Rey Fenix, he says, why are you working for Pac? Why are you working for Pac? You should work for me. And Pac says, oh, hold it right there. You don't understand that. They don't work for me. They don't work for me. We're a family. We're partners. We work together. All three. And this is setting up, and I think this is one cool thing is Penta's whole thing with Alex Abrahantes. Here's a guy Alex Abrahantes, who was hired as just the Spanish announcer and Spanish interviewer. And he has gotten over so well by being the translator for Penta. Like, they started out being antagonistic heels, but it's gotten over so much that he's getting, like, there was a big cheered reaction when Alex Abrahantes and Penta says, I loved seeing that. And here's what I was going to mention. Something it's one of the things that I feel really is one of the core differences between AEW and WWE. Yeah, there are things to complain about with AEW. There are issues. I've seen Sean Ross Sapp mention gang wars too many times. Not the fact that there's too many groups, but the fact that, like, every other segment there's this whole gang beat down that, like, kind of interrupts It can interrupt matches. Like, it doesn't let, like, finishes to matches, have time to breathe sometimes. Like when Christopher Daniels and Kazarian lost, they didn't really give that enough time to breathe because there was this big pull apart brawl. And so there are issues that need to be fixed. But something I've noticed, it seems, when there are criticisms, AEW at least goes out of their way to at least try to fix whatever criticism they're getting. They try to improve on that. We saw that with Dark Order when they were having, and at the end of 2019, it was the worst thing in wrestling, not just AEW. It was one of the worst storylines in all of wrestling. And then they turned it around. They put them with Brody Lee. Sadly, he died. But they put them with Brody Lee. And throughout the course of last year, they went from one being just this horrible gimmick to then being these doofy guys that, and sometimes even, threatening guys behind Brody Lee, and now they're this lovable losers that are hanging out with Hangman Page. So, and then when there was the Nightmare Collective, people were like, this sucks. What did they do? Kill it. Get rid of it. People don't like that? Get rid of it. And then people were like, we like Andrade. Vicky doesn't fit with him. So what do? There's Chavo. At least they try to fix issues that people have problems with. Even with women, one of the biggest complaints they always receive, and it is a major issue, is they don't really do the best job booking the women's division. And a lot of times they're stuck in this, a lot of people call it the 9:30 death spot. Well, here, Britt Baker, we'll get to that now. Britt Baker has her match with title defense against Nyla Rose, and it's at the start of the hour. It's the match that starts the 9 o'clock hour. So, again, people are like, why are you always putting them in this death spot? Okay, they get the big. They'll get the. So at least they try stuff. At least they try to fix it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but at least they try. And that's all I asked for in a company. Try. And it feels like, and my problem with WWE is when they receive criticism, what do? They get indignant about it. They complain about it. You get Triple H coming out there making his promo about me and my buddy Mark. We're going to write a tweet about it. Well, guess what? 3 years later, your flagship show, Monday Night Raw, is receiving a 1.4 in the rating. Their lowest rating of all time. It's what's frustrating. I want to like WWE. I really do. And there's some really good stuff sometimes. The Roman Reigns stuff has been so good. on there. NXT is usually pretty good. But with Monday, they effectively made the entire NXT brand a joke. And from what there's some reports going out that WWE now only consider NXT developmental, nothing else, because they lost to AEW in their little war. NXT didn't get the job done. They didn't put AEW out of business. So they're petty. They're petty against their own product. Where AEW goes out of their way to work with other companies. It's why I've started liking AEW more. At least they try stuff. That's all I ask. Try. And sometimes it's amazing stuff. Like the 2.5-year build of Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. This is a story going from when they had their news conference about the creation of AEW, and Hangman Page says, "It's my goal to be the first ever AEW champion." And he failed at it. And it's been 2 years building back up to be ready to basically claim his destiny as the top babyface, which he absolutely is. It's between him and Darby Allin are the two biggest babyfaces in all of AEW, maybe outside of Jon Moxley. And even he's taken a backseat to Hangman right now. But let's get to this Britt Baker. I won't say it was the best match. There was a couple cool stuff. Britt Baker finally kicking out of the Beast Bomb. I like that. After twice she's lost to Nyla Rose. Another cool thing I thought was cool was Britt trying to do the Eddie Guerrero lie, cheat, and steal spot. And of course it didn't work because Eddie's widow is right there. She knows that trick. That's not going to work against them. She knows that trick. So it didn't work. And then a really cool finish where Nyla Rose went for another Beast Bomb. Britt counters it, gets her into the lockjaw, and and Nyla Rose taps. There was a couple sloppy spots. It happens. It wasn't the cleanest match. But the crowd was super into Britt Baker. And she's going to have some really good matches coming up soon. With Chris Statlander is probably going to get a title shot soon. Ty Conti, she's probably going to get one. They're going to revisit Thunder Rosa. That would probably be All Out, I would imagine. I would imagine that's going to be the big women's match at All Out would be the rematch between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, and that's going to be for the title. So you know that's going to be big, and you know it's going to be good because they can put on amazing matches together. They have great chemistry together. So I'm fine with this match. It did what it needed to do. We also then now know that they also had a. This is probably one of the weirdest parts on tonight's show. Was they treated it like it was a press conference between FTR and Proud and Powerful. But the way I don't know if the show, they had already packed so much stuff in this show that they felt they needed to kind of truncate the segment. But, they just kind of had these little, like, quick, just sound bites. And the weirdest one is, I think it's Ortiz, is, showing picture of his mom when she was 15, when she had me. Here's a newspaper clipping of when she took a scummy slumlord to court to protect our family and our home, so we had a place to live. And it was just kind of weird. But if it's finally getting us to FTR versus Proud and Powerful, I'm all for it. I can't wait to see that match. It's going to be really good. I think the two best tag teams in AEW outside of the Young Bucks, and I actually think they're both better. I like the Young Bucks, but people have their opinions on the Young Bucks. Are they as good as they say they are, or are they just a flash in the pan? I think they're great, but I do like FTR more, and I like Proud and Powerful more. And I think Proud and Powerful should be the next champions. They should have been champions a while ago, if you ask me. But they're good. It's going to be a good match. And finally, also they kind of hinted that it looks like I don't remember if it was next week or the week after. I think it's the week after. I don't think it's next week, but the week after. Malachi Black is going to have his debut match against Cody Rhodes. That should be good. Malachi's got to win. There's no way they're going to do LOL Cody wins. Not on this one. There's no chance. In fact, I have a feeling it's going to be this is where he gets kayfabe injured somehow, and he gets to go home to, be with his wife and kid. And just like they had Jon Moxley get hurt for like a month, so he could be home with Renee and their kid. So I imagine that will happen. But finally, we have the main event is Jon Moxley defending the IWGP United States Championship against Lance Archer. This was a brutal match. There was had to suck chokeslam from Lance Archer. Moxley had put two chairs like spine, the backs together instead of the seats together. Put the backs together. He was going to try to do a move to Archer on it, but Archer reversed that into a choke slam onto the back section of the chairs, and that had to hurt. I don't care who you are, that had to hurt. And then for the end, Moxley had got this barbed wire board and put it on top a couple tables, and he was going to try to do a paradigm shift onto through the board, but again, Lance Archer reverses it with a choke slam through the board and through the tables. And the requirement of the match, being a Texas death match, is it's submission or by knockout. And the choke slam through the board, Moxley couldn't answer the 10 count. And the winner and new IWGP United States Champion is Lance Archer. I think this is the 100% correct move. Lance Archer seriously needed a big win. Now he doesn't lose. He doesn't actually lose a lot, but it always seemed every time he had a title match, he lost. So he really needed this. He really needed this win. I think this is perfect. He can beat the monster, beat guys, and he next week is going to face who? Okay, I will get that name. And he will face Hikuleo, who is the son of Haku and part of the Bullet Club. Archer will be facing him next week as he defends the U.S. title. So that should be really good. I think Archer winning the match was best thing they could do. They can finally, move Moxley on to something new, and this gives Archer something real he can do, instead of just beating up random jobbers. I think this is perfect. He should have a big match just about every week, if not every other week. So this is so good. I loved it. I don't think it was as good as last week. It was going to be really hard to beat the show from last week. But I thought this was a great show. And they set up a lot of matches for next week. That's another thing. AEW always seems to try to, one show actually sets up the stuff for next week. And it's usually something fresh. It's not the same rematch every week after week after week after week after week after week after week. So, okay, I think I'm done with this review. If you like this review, give me a like, share the video. You can follow me on Twitter at Rob L. Reed. At Mr. Rob Reed. That was my old name that I mentioned before. But at Mr. Rob Reed. That is my Twitter. You can follow me there. Thank you. I will see you later. See you in the next video. Goodbye.